Am I the only one that feels exhausted and tired of the same old bullshit when it comes to these shooters? Am I the only one that feels tired of the responses? It's boring. It's the same thing. It's like I feel like I'm living in cuckoo land. I'm hearing the same responses every single time when it comes to this issue. The left, the liberals, immediately start talking about guns. Immediately. The kids' bodies are still in the hospital, and we're talking about guns right now? And the right is the same thing, talking about guns. We're not talking about the victims. We're not talking about who's causing the violence. We're talking about inanimate objects that have no conscience. Because we don't know what to do with the problem of evil. For many, they don't understand what evil is. They don't understand how to respond to evil. They don't understand what it is. They think you can just wipe it away. Deep down inside, everybody is just a good person deep down inside, if you just think about it. So what do we know right now? 2 Catholic kids are dead in Minneapolis, killed by a mass shooter, a trans person who was clearly, what's up, Susie? Who was clearly a leftist based on his manifesto, despite being a little bit of a troll lord by making comments and jokes about certain things about supporting a Republican at some point. But if you just look at his whole portfolio or look at him in the context of his entire life, he's a leftist deep down inside with a trail of hate, angry at the world, pissed off at the world, feeling like the world has rejected him, feeling like he doesn't have a place, feeling like he has no purpose in life but to do this one thing. This is his one mission. Clearly lived a life that was supported, loved, not bullied. In the manifesto, there was no talks about being bullied, no talks about it's just something I have to do. Leaving a trail of hate. The 23-year-old Robin, born as Robert, identified as trans, clearly obsessed with other school shooters. It's been such a weird thing to read online today about all these commentators picking and choosing different parts. Oh my God, there's anti-Semitic things on his gun. He killed Catholic kids. Sit this one out. There was Trump assassination threats. There was all kinds of things written on his firearms. The chilling manifesto, clearly a sick person, felt that he had some kind of demon inside of him at some point. He drew a picture of it, even himself, looking in the mirror and looking at a demon, looking back at him, asking for prayer before he did it. I can't do this anymore. I love you all. Even on his firearm, he wrote the name of the previous trans shooter that shot up a school. And we're talking about guns right now. We're talking about guns. We're talking about inanimate objects that don't have a conscience. It's the same boring conversation. School shooter, we'll talk about guns. Inner city black crime with black kids running around shooting each other. Oh, we need to talk about guns. We're not actually talking about the individuals that are behind the gun, pulling the trigger. The thing that we should actually be talking about, the thing that would actually solve the issue or work on the issue. But again, they don't have a category for evil. So many of these people that don't have God in their life have no category for evil. They don't know what to do with evil. They just think, oh, if we just take the guns away, then people will stop doing these evil acts. No. That's not how it works in real life, in IRL, as the kids say. But some of these comments from today by mainstream media were some of the most insane things I've ever seen. This is the sick freak, by the way, that decided to go about it. The FBI has come out today and said that they're investigating the shooting as an act of domestic terrorism and a hate crime targeting Catholics, which is exactly what it was. He was targeting Christians. He was targeting the most vulnerable population, children. You have to be incredibly sick in the head to even go after children in this sort of way. Vulnerable children in a church as they pray. Even writing on his magazine at some point saying, "Where is your God?" The FBI is investigating this as a possible hate crime. I mean, clearly it is. If this doesn't fit the definition of a hate crime, I don't know what it is. I mean, they're so slow to roll this kind of crap out when it comes to Christians. You know, when Christians talk about how many Christians are murdered around the world, people are just like, that's not a real thing. Yeah, it is. And it's more insane to see the politicians and how they respond. You know the Democrats are going to respond in certain sort of ways because they're psychotic and they're sycophants and their religion is politics and staying in power as much as they possibly can, because that's their whole point of life, is remaining in power and pushing policies and staying in their own biased bubble, and you can never bust that bubble. And you can look no further than this freaking idiot. Was Tampon Tam a friend? He probably was. You can look no further than the idiot of the Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, the guy that bent the knee and cried in front of George Floyd's funeral like he was actually sad about this. This is like A1 acting. And today, he didn't just, condemn this shooter. He made it a mission to make sure you would not villainize the trans community during this evil act. The most this community is like the community you're not allowed to talk about. You're not allowed to make jokes about it. You're not allowed to talk about them, because if you do, they're going to threaten violence. And what does that freaking tell you about that community? Does that community tell you that this community is a community that is mentally stable, mentally healthy, people that can emotionally regulate when there's issues at hand? I feel like it tells me the complete opposite. The more they try to cover for this community, much like they do in the black community in Chicago, the more you kind of notice the trends. But of course, the mayor decided to come out and make sure you didn't villainize this community, because, that's not the point. The point is to take away your guns or something?
To happen again and again beyond that. It's on all of us.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's all on all of us. Yeah, exactly. It's all our fault. It's your fault. It's my fault. It's the kids' fault, actually. It's on all of us? No. This is on Rob's fault. Mr. Robin himself, the 23-year-old that actually committed the crime. It's his fault.
To happen again and again beyond that. It's on all of us. And I have heard about a whole lot of hate that's being directed at our trans community.
Whoa, okay.
Anybody who is using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there.
What are you talking about? The white liberal knight, Jacob Frey. If anybody is deciding to go after certain communities, okay, yeah, right. If it was a right winger who was obsessed with Nick Fuentes or that had Hitler stuff all over his wall, you would go after that community. Am I right? Because that community would probably be a community you don't want to have in your inner circles or in America. No. You're selective on the communities in which you go after, right, Jacob? But because this is a protected class that you can't talk about, you can't mention, it's like Voldemort. Can't mention their names, can't mention the fact that they're trans. You can't ask the questions, are they on SSRIs? Were they actually dealing with a lot of psychotics, schizophrenic thoughts? where they had to actually, this was their mission. I have to do this. I'm going to die, blah, blah, blah. I'm even seeing stupid right-wing commentators talk about how the kid was addicted to vaping and therefore he's somehow doing a bunch of THC, smoking a bunch of marijuana, and this is the product of marijuana. Are you freaking serious? Are you freaking serious, dude? Vaping can also be nicotine, aka cigarettes. I've never heard somebody smoking a cigarette and then going out and saying, I have to actually commit this sort of thing. Violet says he doesn't represent any community. He was deaf, a schizo, and he was nuts. But the fact that you feel like you have to say this is ridiculous as we still learn more information about what actually happened. Again, this will be pushed under the rug. This will be pushed on the rug because it doesn't fit their narrative. You know, it's just like black on black crime in Chicago. It's like, oh, that's a huge problem. Kids are getting shot every day. We're not going to actually address that issue. We're going to let it just keep going.
Has lost their sense of common humanity.
Yeah. If you go after this community, you have lost your sense of humanity. My friend, you have lost your sense of humanity because you refuse to address the root issue. You want to make it out to be this inanimate object that just takes over your mind. You have no issue. You can't control yourself around these inanimate objects. You just have to commit evil when you touch this inanimate object. You have no emotional regulation. You can't process. You can't think through these thoughts. You have a lot of cognitive issues once you touch this inanimate object. This is freaking psychotic stuff. This is why I hate politicians so much. It's because they will take your dead kids' bodies and they will make it out to be a political agenda immediately. And they'll make it out to be about themselves in some way. I wonder if he's even seen a psychopath. No way. I have. Slim chance THC can trigger schizophrenia. Yeah, that is true. But it doesn't say anywhere he was actually smoking THC. It just says he was vaping, and people are trying to say just because you're vaping, you're doing THC. Okay, here we go.
Their sense of common humanity. We should not be operating out of a place of hate for anyone. We should be operating from a place of love for our kids to happen.
Okay, right. Don't fixate on the people that do evil acts. Fixate on the inanimate objects and doing something. And then he goes on to CNN and he doubles down on this rhetoric, okay? He's just won't stop.
When you talk about compassion, I don't want to tiptoe around the edge of this, but you know, the shooter's name was in question, the gender of the shooter. No one's really sure what's going on there. 5 years ago it was Robert, then a name changed to Robin. Okay. This is being seized in all corners, as you can imagine, in all sorts of ways. And you know that, Mayor, and perhaps that's why when...
Yeah, you know why? They're a very high population that commits suicide. They're a very high population that has high likelihood of needing counseling, that needing psychotherapy, of needing intervention with medical drugs for their mental issues. 2 + 2 = 4, not 5. There's a Fruity Bar vape in the video. Yeah, it looks like a fruity vape. THC has nothing to look. THC, okay, yeah, it could trigger schizophrenia, and there has been some sort of cases that I've read these medical journals very closely. It can trigger schizophrenic thoughts, but THC is like alcohol. You know, these sort of thoughts that you have inside of you, they kind of get maximized a little bit once you elevate your mind or you decide to partake in these sorts of drugs, okay? And so if there's already evil thoughts within you, you do drugs or you drink alcohol, you do something like this, it's only going to elevate these thoughts. It's just like the whole thing with steroids. It's like, just because you do steroids doesn't mean you're going to go and punch somebody in the face. You're already a violent person. Now you have a little bit more edge to you that makes it easier to punch someone in the face. But again, I think it's crazy that they take day one of this insane event, this insane evil event, and then turn it into being let's surround ourselves. Let's hold hands with the trans community. This is not a trans issue. Like, you are making us fixate on it more by saying we're not allowed to talk about it.
Change to Robin. Okay. This is being seized in all corners, as you can imagine, in all sorts of ways. And you know that, Mayor. And perhaps that's why when you spoke about this so profoundly and powerfully as you are even here now, but when you spoke about this today publicly, you voiced concern for the transgender community, for the community overall.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for having compassion with the shooter. That's a really good timing for that.
And obviously, you chose
I have to say something because they're my base. They're my voters. I have to make sure they know I still support them.
to do that in that moment because you thought it was important. And I wanted to give you a chance to say why you felt it was important to do that in that moment.
Please tell us, you psycho.
Obviously, I've heard about the rhetoric and the narrative.
Yeah, I heard about it. No, you didn't. Okay, I'm going to call. There's no way that within an hour he was all over X, all over all the social medias, watching all these YouTube channels. He was in press conferences and talking with the police during the whole day. You didn't hear rhetoric. You didn't hear anything, dude. You just assumed it was going to be about that once you found out who the shooter was, is what really happened. And I wish they would be honest about that.
Obviously, I've heard about the rhetoric and the narrative that is being pushed out. But here's the thing.
Talk to us.
Anybody that is going to use this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any community has lost.
Why does he keep saying that? Why does he keep saying if anybody uses this opportunity to villainize any community? It's because it's his community. It's always if it's your community that it's a part of. You want to go on the defense immediately. Look. They're my community. They're good people. Not everyone is crazy. Okay.
Or any community has lost touch with a common humanity.
Yeah.
We got to be operating not out of hate for any group, but out of a love for our children. That's where the focus needs to be right now. A love for our kids, seeing these kids not just as somebody else's kids.
Then talk about the kids then. Because, and if you're operating out of a love for children, which I totally respect. And that's what I think you should be doing if you're a leader. If somebody would come to me and start talking about trans stuff, I would say, look, I'm not going to talk about that right now. I'm going to talk about what's going on with these kids. I want to elevate some of the stories I've heard of heroism that I've heard from these children. I want to talk about the heroism from the cops that went into the building to make sure the kids were secure. I want to talk about some of the stories that I've heard from parents. And I would flip it on that. I wouldn't even discuss it because that's what a real leader would do. I like this toxic empathy. We're going to talk about the kids, and that's why it's going to be my reason to talk about guns all of a sudden. Did they villainize the community after January 6th? Of course they did. Oh, that face. It's a problem. The left wants us to ignore all the problems of society. You're not allowed to notice things. You're not allowed to see trends. The minute you start seeing trends from certain groups of people is the minute people start to get really angry. Man, they get angry. They get so triggered by that.
This horrific thing happened, but what if it was our own? How would we feel then? So, look, we need to be standing up for every community out there. A Catholic community, too, by the way.
Oh, okay. That was a hard one to say, wasn't it? That was a hard one to say. We need to stand up for the... we need to sign up for the Catholic community. Maybe that should have been the first thing out of your mouth, idiot. The community that was the most affected by this. God. He's not even thinking about that. I mean, he goes on the later talking about how we need to stop praying. So, keep that in context about this psychopath.
By the way, I mean, any community that suffers this kind of blow, our Minneapolis community, you got to stand up for them.
Okay.
But, you know, I feel oftentimes in these instances there's this desire to villainize a group. You want to call this an act of cowardice? Do it, because it is. But regardless of what group or background...
Right, you're right. Don't look at people in the context of their community. Yeah, don't do that. That would lead you to conclusions that doesn't make people feel good on the inside. Don't acknowledge people in the context of their community. Don't see that.
Gender, you know, the bottom line is that kids got killed.
Yes.
Let's love each other more. Let's love each other more, because the antidote to hate is not more hate. Hurt people, and the antidote to hate is a whole lot more love. That's where we all need to be going right now.
Well, Mayor Frey, I'm grateful to you for taking the time and sharing that.
And then even on Fox 5, they immediately started talking about this. Even on Fox 5.
Do you think there could have been something done if someone changes their name and thinks they're another gender? Would you not have them have access to weapons?
No, I think there are trans people who are stalked and they are terrorized and they worry about their own self-protection and they deserve to protect themselves. I worry about someone who has ever gone to the doctor and says, you know, I feel a little anxious. Can you prescribe me some Xanax for a plane? And then all of a sudden their name goes on some federal database. Yeah, and they can never get a weapon to defend themselves. There are plenty of laws keeping good people from buying guns and ammunition. You know, we talked to...
Good question, Jacob.
Joe, our local sporting goods guy, and, you know, he's furious that people who deserve to protect themselves and their families, for people who enjoy sporting life, that they are not capable to go in and buy a weapon without some sort of registry. Yes, this person was mentally ill. It's not the trans part. It's the part that he was absolutely, completely evil. And in places like Minnesota, they do have red flag laws. And his parents should have known. And parents should be nosy. Absolutely. But, you know, I wish there were someone there to put a bullet between this little a-hole's eyes before he was able to pull a trigger. The only solace I have is that when he took his own cowardly life, which he should have done in the parking lot before he got out of his car, is that he woke up in hell. That is the only comfort that I have. And taking guns away from good people who deserve self-protection, I'm sorry, it's not the answer.
Kennedy, I'm not saying take it away.
True. I feel gross. I feel dirty after listening to him. He doesn't even care about people that are hurt. I know, totally. MSNBC is confused about why somebody would go about this. MSNBC is completely confused about why someone would commit this evil act. Are you confused by this?
Did they help motivate him and radicalize him to carry out this shooting?
When you use the word radicalize, we tend to think of terror, a more traditional terrorist, something that people came, especially in this country, to seem to be familiar with in the post 9/11 era, right? So when you talk about radicalization, you talk about writings that reference suicide, extremely violent thoughts and ideas, and those multiple videos.
The funny thing is, like, they're going to be talking about radicalization when it comes to this kid. When I say kid, he's a man. I mean, 23. You're a man. I'm sorry. I know it's 2025 and people still consider 20-year-olds kids. But dude, you're a man. 23 years old, radicalized. It's not going to be able to fit their category of what radicalization looks like, because their only category of radicalization is right-wing terror. Is fascistic terror. That's their only category. So they don't understand what this even means anymore. Like, these are the type of people that, what's up, Swill? These are the type of people that literally watched Antifa take over entire cities and refuse to even name them, even talk about them. If that doesn't tell you it's a terror group, I don't know what it is, what does. If you refuse to even acknowledge their name. They're just like, it's just an idea. It's just an idea. So what is this radicalization? Where does it come from? Does it come from the video games?
That are posted online. What do these groups do when you say they radicalize?
So, whether it's a terrorist organization or, the variety of ideologies that different people follow, they're following them because they have susceptibility. There's various push-pull factors. Yes. Maybe it's some kind of mental break. Maybe it's their life is, Yeah,
mental break. Yeah. Maybe they're a little manic. Maybe they have a little bit of schizophrenia. Maybe they have like high levels of paranoia that get perpetuated by, I don't know, MSNBC.
Gone down the toilet and they have no hope. Maybe they have bad parenting, a variety of things. The effects of COVID and the isolation and what's called the gamification influence where...
The effects of COVID is what drove Robin. The effects of COVID. What effects? What are we talking about? I love vague crap like this. The effects of COVID. What effects? Be more specific with your rhetoric, please. Be more specific. And then he starts talking about video games. COVID and video games, huh? That was it. That was it. It's not us like pushing paranoia nonstop. It's not us like pushing paranoia nonstop. Like Hitler's literally in office and he's putting people in concentration camps. He's sending people off to work camps. It's not the news perpetuating like constant paranoia that triggers people's that already have high anxiety in their life. It has nothing to do with us. God, these people have no accountability for anything.
And what's called the gamification influence, where young men are growing up, being raised by video games.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there we go. It's the hip hop music. It's the video games. Look, I played both. I played video games and listened to hip hop music at the same time, and I've never wanted to kill anyone. Shut up. I've never listened to a hip hop song and was like, I'm gonna do it. I've never played Call of Duty and was like, I gotta get out and do this too. It's not the video games. The video games. Maybe there should be like a thing that you have to click to say I'm not bipolar, schizophrenic before I play this video game.
Growing up, being raised by video games, all of those things are involved in really people mobilizing towards violence more routinely in these things.
Okay.
But you will also see people get radicalized solely on these video games through headsets. They may never go on the internet otherwise. So there's a...
What? Getting radicalized via headsets?
Variety of things that threat professionals look at now and trends, but we're seeing this repeated.
MK Ultra, exactly. We're seeing this repeated. It's these damn video games. It's these gosh darn video games. It's crazy music. When you rip God out of people's lives, they will look at anything to fill the whole 100%. Yeah. This kid had no purpose. And he was more black-pilled than ever. Had no hope for anything. And then his worldview was encouraged, and therefore he got to the end of his worldview and felt still hopeless, and through that hopelessness pushed him to go even further, is what I think. Nothing to do with hormone blockers or cutting off. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I like the idea that we're not putting people in context. Yeah, okay, let's just take away the trans thing. Sure. But is it part of the context in his worldview in the way he's lived out his life via being in obvious psychiatric care and transitioning, having his mother, which was reported, his mother signed off on his transition as a minor. So being supported by his mother to do this sort of thing. It doesn't sound like... We just don't allow people to think with their brains when it comes to this sort of thing. You're just supposed to go, I don't know, guns. I don't know, trans. I don't know, video games. I don't know hip hop music. I don't like that's such a low IQ takeaway. You need to see people in the full context of who they are. And every single one of these things is part of the context of him. Every single one. So it's all part of it. It's freaking nuts. And then you have the gun experts, obviously, because you can't have a school shooting without gun experts talking about their gun knowledge. And here's CNN talking about their gun knowledge. And it's honestly one of the dumbest takes I've ever heard.
It seemed like a rifle, he said, a semi-automatic rifle. And it went on for several minutes.
Right. And look, that's not uncommon as well. These things can shoot dozens of bullets, in just one trigger pull. Right. And
no, that's not true at all. That's semi-automatics don't shoot dozens of bullets in one trigger pull. No, that's not how it works.
In just one trigger pull, right? And so what happens in this case is sometimes they have enough time to reload. It's one of the most horrific things for students to be sitting.
It's just like, can we not have a complete absolute idiot take by mainstream media? Do they have any capacity? Do you have any kind of a non-idiotic take when it comes to this sort of thing? How old was the kid? He was 23 years old. So I don't consider him a kid. He's an adult. But people, they're going to call him a kid because then it makes him less aggressive. I have no idea. I just, they never have experts on to know anything about Baymax. They don't, not at all. Even Trey Gowdy got in and started talking about red flag laws.
Our system is reactive. Something bad happens, we react to it. And what people are crying for now is, how can we prevent this? How can we stop it?
Right.
And the only way to stop it is to identify the shooter ahead of time or keep the weapons out of their hands. And so we're going to have a conversation of freedom versus protecting children. I mean, how many school shootings does it take before we're going to have a conversation about keeping firearms out? It's always a young white male.
No. my hold on a second. My freaking green screen. My freaking green. It's always a young white male. Trey Gowdy. Coming in hot. It's always a young white male. Thanks a lot for dead naming him.
Does it take before we're going to have a conversation about keeping firearms out? It's always a young white male, almost always. I mean, did anyone this morning think, I wonder if that was a female? Did any of y'all think that? I mean, there's been one school shooting involving a female.
No. And you could talk about that, sure, but it wasn't. It wasn't. Is that what we're calling the Nashville shooter too as well? A white female, a white male?
One. Yeah, Tennessee. But other than that, it is usually young white males.
Okay. The whole red flag argument is so stupid in this context as well, because Minnesota has red flag laws. Red flag laws require people to actually report these sorts of things. But when you have a mother that is signing off on your hormone blockers or whatever, if that's, I know signed off on the name change. When you have a family dynamic that supports your psychotic leftist viewpoints on life, you're not going to have anyone to report. So it's just like the gun-free zones all over again. Gowdy has gone left. Gowdy is the worst. Was it transgender? That's racist. We don't support this sort of human being. But and of course MSNBC immediately starts talking about how we need to confiscate every gun and become like Australia. So that next time there's a COVID lockdown, people can't actually get out of it.
I think it's either you have to be honest and say what will actually work, which is what nobody wants to hear, which is that there are just simply way too many firearms and they're way too accessible. And even if
they're too powerful?
And they're too powerful. Even handguns, too. Again, that's why in Australia, it doesn't matter if it's not politically acceptable to say it. I'm not here as a politician or anyone who works in politics, I'm a journalist, whether or not you like it, the only thing that really works, if you really wanted to bring down gun violence, was to do what Australia did and to do what many other countries in Europe do. I realize I will get so much hate mail over this.
Yeah, because it's stupid. It's like, dude, do we even have a discussion about tyrannical governments? Like, is this the same show that talks about how Donald Trump is a fascistic leader and he's going to be the king? How do you think you stop a government that turns very fascistic or a government that pushes tyranny on its people? You just hope, you trust. It's just like, God, these people are so freaking nuts. And then, you know, of course, he goes, you know, the Minneapolis mayor goes on and says something very similar.
There needs to be action. And when we have seen school shooting after school shooting, when we have seen churches get shot up by horrible actors, I think the impetus has to be on all of us as leaders to do a whole lot more, to recognize that we've got more guns in this country than we have people. There needs to be action.
If that was the case, you would think this would be happening every single day. Politicians call for gun removal, but insist on having armed security, of course. Well, they're going to call for gun removal because they have no category for evil, like I keep saying. They have no category for evil, so they're just like, what are we supposed to do? Oh, we'll just take away the weapon, as opposed to address the true evil. Dude wants his 15 minutes. He keeps going. I thought didn't he just almost lose to a Somali guy and then called the election fraudulent? I think the craziest part too, I think this clip went under the radar by a lot of people. So apparently, when the cops got to the scene of the school, there wasn't very many cops. And people asked the questions, what's up, Jess? You didn't get any notifications? Screw Rumble. Dang it. Thanks for letting me know. So when the cops arrived at the scene today, there wasn't that many cops. And people asked why. And the reason is because late last night, the crime was so bad in Minneapolis that cops were working overtime. And a lot of them had the morning off.
On its tactical vest, which doesn't necessarily mean a lot. Sometimes the FBI is called in to help and things like this. I will say throughout the morning, we've been following a violent night overnight in Minneapolis. So we know already that Minneapolis police were pretty strapped. They responded to at least another deadly shooting in downtown Minneapolis earlier this morning. No indication that any of that is connected to what's going on here, but just gives you an idea of this city's resources and how they've been using those. They also dealt with a shooting involving 7 victims earlier yesterday, another fatal last night around 8 o'clock. So it could be that a lot of this help is being called in just to alleviate some of the busyness, I guess, that you could say that Minneapolis police are under. But clearly a lot of agencies now coming in to help. And I will say, Amy, when you see sometimes a lot of these law enforcement officers kind of by the perimeter, we saw them bringing plainclothes people. It looked like not law enforcement, maybe people involved with the scene, kind of taking them away from that scene. Could be an indication that things are settling down a bit there, that this is maybe now it's
crazy. This may have been your best show. Hey, thanks, Raul. It's just because I'm mad. It's because I'm angry. I'm angry at stuff like this. So this is his mother who signed off on the papers, who apparently worked at the Catholic school, just recently retired. This is the mother that signed off, and this was him before he transitioned. Didn't see anything. Didn't see anything, Mom. Didn't have any notifications. Didn't have any clue. I mean, I'm not saying that like I blame the parents. I'm not one of these people. It's like blaming somebody, a kid that's like drug addicted, and it's like, oh, it's the parents' fault. That's like a stupid take. But you definitely didn't help by just reaffirming all his worldviews and reaffirming everything he believes. I mean, Andy No has been tweeting out like a crazy spree. Andy No, famously known for his reporting against Antifa, gay man himself. Antifa wants to kill him all the time. He says, today's killings of Christian children at a church in Minneapolis occurred in the context of a surge in far-left trans propaganda, encouraging trans Tifa and other leftists to take up arms and kill transphobes and fascists. Their targets are Christians and conservatives. I've been warning and reporting on this phenomenon for years and called a liar by the liberal media and targeted by death threats and by the far left. Look, if your response to people even mentioning the fact that this person's trans is that I'm going to be violent towards you, you're part of the problem. Maybe sit this one out. Okay? They lumped in the gang violence in this kid thing. Always. I mean, this kid, this person was clearly deranged and out of it and dealing with schizophrenic and paranoid thoughts that probably weren't challenged. And see, that's the biggest problem. That's where the trans things come in for me, because people in this community, when they go seek out mental health services, there's not a lot of people in the mental health services that will challenge some of these worldviews. In fact, a lot of them will encourage it, especially when it comes to paranoia. Like somebody feeling like their life is over, this country is over. Donald Trump is a fascistic leader. He's literally Hitler. And, you'll have people in these services, not everyone, because don't be one of these idiots that think like, oh, every single person in mental health thinks the same way. That's like a dumb, low IQ take. That's such a dumb take. There are still Christians in these services. There are still people that are conservative in these services that like to help out with behavioral health. But not all of these people see people that will challenge some of these worldviews of like, hey, I notice that you're speaking a lie about black pill stuff and feeling hopeless about these sorts of things, or feeling like you have no purpose in life. Let's work on that. Let's challenge that. But it's up to them at the end of the day to change their life or not, of course. But a lot of these people are just reaffirmed on everything. And that's the problem. Came over here to comment too. Hey, thanks. This is the same mayor that was in office during the riots? Yeah, he is the same mayor. He's the worst. He's the freaking worst. I mean, he's like the epitome of everything I hate about Democrats, and particularly like people that are in politics forever, that are just like bending the knee, crying, fake crying, acting out all the time. You just give these people a script and they'll say it. I mean, Crowder had his manifesto that was apparently written in Russian, which was such a weird thing. And then Crowder had ChatGPT translate it. In the manifesto, 5 days left. Nothing I want to do in these days except for prep for the mission. The rain should only take a few hours, then it's back home to rot. All I do is fall apart, and then I break, and then I die. Broken. Shouldn't all I feel but be broken? Shouldn't I die? And like all, you see this person is like firearms. He just like writes all these things. I thought this was the most interesting thing. This is the other trans shooter that shot up a kid's school. So it's like basically a copycat. Basically somebody that wanted to push the same rhetoric, same ideas. There was a manifesto written by this kid to his parents. And I thought this was like the most insane part of the manifesto. If you read it, it's like, I'm just sorry. Please pray for me. I'm sorry, family. Leave me. Don't like connect me with all this stuff. Just move on, sort of stuff. But this was like the most insane part. This was like a moment that I wish this Robin person would have actually taken their own advice. At the end of the letter, Rob writes, P.S. T. I don't know if T is like his brother or something, or sister. T, get over yourself. Get over yourself and make up with mom. She loves you. You need to grow up and accept that. You need to grow up and accept that time just keeps effing moving. You either will stay in the past and rot, wasting life and happiness away, or you can grow up and move on from things. We all love you. take your own advice, Robin. Take your own advice. That was like the craziest part to me. The PS part. You need to get over yourself and make up with mom. She loves you. You need to grow up and accept that things just keep freaking moving. You either will stay in the past and rot or wasting your life and happiness away, or you can grow up and move on from things. What? What? Take your own advice. What the frick? That was the weirdest part. That was such a weird part to me. And then this is like the craziest part too. It was like, he went to the gun range and used the picture of Jesus and shot at the target with Jesus's face on it. There was pictures of him writing like, "Where's your God?" And there was like all kinds of different actions. There was like anti-Semitic stuff. There was stuff about Donald Trump. There was all kinds of crazy stuff. But I think like, I want to go against everything Jacob Frey stands for. And especially in this moment, to kind of summarize and sum up this video, Jacob Frey comes out and says this right here.
These were Minneapolis families. These were American families. And the amount of pain that they are suffering right now is extraordinary.
Yeah.
And don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church.
Don't just say this is about don't have thoughts and prayers. Don't pray. Don't pray to God during this insane moment. Don't take time out of your day to get grounded and remember that the things that go on in life, things that go on in your head, are just things, and to be regrounded by God. Don't do that, is what he's trying to say. You saw these leftists talking about the same things. Even Brian Krasenstein, I mean, he's like one of the worst, craziest, propped up people I've ever seen. Praying is the problem here, not the solution. People use prayer instead of action. If prayer worked, a house of prayer wouldn't have just experienced this tragedy. You're an idiot. You're a freaking idiot. That's like saying like, "Hey, Jesus, why don't you get down from the cross?" If you're really God, you wouldn't die. If God was really around, there wouldn't be evil. Prayer is the problem here, not the solution. People use prayer instead of action. If prayer worked, a house of prayer wouldn't have just experienced this tragedy. And I want to say, actually, prayer does work. And prayer is the one thing that will probably help a lot of these families actually heal from this tragic event. Prayer will be the one thing that will give some of these families who feel lost, broken, hopeless, begging for any kind of answers. It will be the only thing that stops them from losing their mind. And my dog knocks down my green screen. My dog is literally Satan. God, jeez. This story should be about prayer and finding hope in the hopeless and being regrounded instead of looking for answers and wanting retribution and wanting to hurt after being hurt. And it should be stories about prayer and coming together as a community and looking after the Catholic community, especially during this time, and why this person targeted Christians, and reminding themselves that there is still evil out there that want to destroy and kill you. And it's best to cherish every day that you have with somebody. And remember the stories of like this, where this kid saved this other kid's life by laying on top of him to protect him.
What happened with him? Is he okay?
Yeah, I think he's gonna be okay. And then my friend, he was like laying on top of me, like making sure I was safe, and he got hit. So that was really brave of him.
And you have a nick on your neck?
Yeah, that was, I don't even know what it's from. Kind of looks like debris or something.
But that came from during this?
Yeah.
How are you feeling? You seem pretty put together here, but it's got to be tough.
Yeah, I'm just like confused.
It should be stories about heroism, coming together as community, and praying one another. I don't take advice from pagans. I don't either. People like that have no idea what the purpose of prayer is. It just looks like they think like people like that think that you pray to get stuff. It's like the dumbest. It's just you don't pray to get stuff. You're not asking for Santa Claus, you know. You're asking for someone to walk with you in the pain. You're asking for somebody to walk with you in the darkest moments of your life. That's what prayer is for, you know. It's for asking for help. It's realizing that you can't help yourself and you need help outside of yourself. That's what prayer is for. I do have a husky and she is the devil. It's actually thundering where I am, and she freaks out during thunders. It's absolutely nuts. All right, guys, I hope you have a wonderful day. I am on my way to go race go-karts. What a freaking transition after this video. Thanks, guys, so much for putting up with me and putting up with this video and hanging out with me tonight. I was just watching everything unfold, and I'm just watching the same stupid crap by both sides, and it was driving me nuts just watching it unfold, just watching it happen. Evil's going to constantly happen in life. Evil's not going away, no matter how much you try to stop it. And that's just another reminder to yourself that when times are good, cherish those moments and cherish the people you're around the most, because that's what makes life worth living. If you fixate on the evil in the world, it will consume you. Prayer is vocalizing surrender to his will. Exactly. Exactly, Discopus. You don't pray to change God's mind. You pray to change yours. That'll preach. That'll freaking preach. All right, guys. Have a wonderful night. I'll see you guys in the morning, okay? Let's, hopefully this really sad stuff, though. Really sad stuff. I know this wasn't like the funniest show, but I feel like it deserves something else. I just didn't want to be the same person that comes on and says the same stupid low IQ crap. I know this is a low IQ show, but I just sometimes I think like when I get angry at things, I'm like, okay, I can't have this like reactionary low IQ take. I have to actually think about how I feel about this and what's going on and seeing in the full context of the whole thing, and then understand how to respond based on what I see, as opposed to just like being reactionary and just taking the easiest fruit to pick from the tree. It's so boring. It's so boring when people do that. Pray to cheeseburger versus eating it, seriously. Have a safe night. Glad you caught live. Hey, Jessica, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you guys for being here. Drop a like on this video. You were spot on. Thanks, Violet. I want to be for you and for myself. Like, I am not... I don't want to be stuck in my own bias bubble. I don't want to be stuck in my own negative or same thinking thought loops. I want to think through this sort of thing. It's just like, you know, and I'm so tired of these politicians pretending they have the answer to some of these problems, and in many ways they just perpetuate it because they don't actually address the true issues. Drives me nuts. Drives me freaking nuts. All right, guys. I'll see you guys in the morning, all right?